It's almost fall, so a lighter candle. This little thingamajig is so cool. You charge it. How cool is that? I know that's not what we're here to talk about today, but showing you my fancy candle lighter from Amazon that you just charge. It's like magic. Fall. Now that we have our fall candle lit, I feel that we can now talk about fall. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anna. I do realize that my eyeshadow got out of hand. I really wanted to create very grungy, very smoked out look. And I didn't realize, like, I wanted to go this far, but I didn't realize how dark the color I took was this far, because I decided it'd be a great idea to do my makeup in my bathroom that has really bad lighting. So in the bathroom, you honestly can't even see it, which is crazy because I'm like, well, now I never want to do my makeup in a bathroom with cruddy lighting ever again, because what is this? I'm gonna tell you guys my favorite palettes for the fall time. I can't do it. I had to go clean some of that up because it was bothering me so much. So I was like, I don't even want to look at myself. Why would anybody else? So I cleaned it up a little bit. Hopefully it looks a slightly bit better. One of my favorite things about fall, besides the really cozy candles, is the makeup, the change in the colors of makeup that we use. Obviously not everyone is for participating in doing your makeup to match kind of the weather. It gets me excited to do that. So if you're someone like me and you want to see what palettes are cool for fall, in my book, just keep watching. The first one, let's start off with, I guess, our grungy greens, because I think this one is the most perfect palette for fall, period. It's what I use today, and it is the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. This baby is expensive, but the formula is so good. I have heard from some people saying that theirs started molding really quickly. I've had mine for a few months now and I don't notice anything weird about it, but this has the best olive greens. They're the exact greens that I want for fall. But then you also have your mustardy tone, warm toned, more yellowy type of shades for fall too. So this is probably going to be my most favorite palette for fall, period. You can just create the most gorgeous olivey tone green look, and this one is like a true olive green. I kind of hate when I find a palette that has like olivey looking type greens, but then they end up looking more gray. This one you can actually tell are greens versus those like grayish greens. So I love this, and the formula is excellent. I will say, if you are a beginner to eyeshadow, use this with a very light hand. I think they are very easy to use, but they're also very easy to go heavy-handed, which is kind of what happened to me today too, honestly. So I was in a rush doing my makeup, and since I was rushing, I just started like piling it on, and it built up so quickly, and I just wasn't ready for it. And then once you have it like overly built up, it's a little bit harder to blend out. So really use the smallest amount. But you can create some gorgeous kind of mustardy tone looks with this one over here. And the shimmers in this are gorgeous. It is more expensive. If you can find this catch it on a sale, that's how I got it, then I would definitely recommend that. But those, this to me is just like a must-have for fall if you're into grungy greens and just grungy looks for fall. I think this is a must-have. I don't know why I started off on such a high note with the best palette, but this one kind of might surprise you. It is the new Be Perfect Carnival Love Tahiti palette. And you might look at this and be like, wow, that's just a colorful rainbow palette. I really see that being used for summer. But we cannot write off all these grungy greens over here, plus a very warm toned row, a very orangey toned row, and I feel like I will actually be reaching for this a lot. So this one does have kind of a grungier type of green in it. I don't know, this is like the type of shade that I'm talking about that ends up looking more gray toned olive green. But then you also have that green, just murkier type of greens, which I really love. But again, this one also has some warm tones thrown in there as well. Like this will be a really pretty shade. I could see myself reaching for this for the fall time too, which is pretty crazy because you look at it and it's not really the first palette that you would think about. I have the Kathleen Lights. This one has a beautiful olive in it, and then it has just pretty greens that you can kind of, you know what? Let's compare this to the Melt real quick because I feel like this palette's cheaper than Melt. So if those shades end up being similar, I feel like it'd be closest to Leo and Goals. Oh, the greens are definitely not the same. So here is Leo from the Melt Cosmetics palette. And then here is Jade from the Kathleen Lights palette. That one, it is definitely, see how it has a little bit more gray. I don't know if you can tell, they look almost the same. So those two colors look almost the same, which that's the darkest green in the Melt palette. And then Goals, I don't know if these will be identical. This is the Melt palette lighter green color. I'm doing this because again, like the Kathleen Lights palette is a lot cheaper. And then we'll do Peridot. Okay, so you could almost get some similar greens in the Kathleen Lights one as you could in the Melt Cosmetics one, but I still really like the Melt one, and then you even have some of those yellow tones like the Melt one does as well. I'm excited to use the greens in here, but this one also is one of those that has a plethora of good shades for fall. You have these very beautiful burgundies, you have just some grungier colors. This I feel like is half grungy, half jewel toned, so I could see myself reaching for this palette a lot in the fall time. Here it is up close. Staying with the greens, this Natasha Mini Retro palette, I know like it looks a little bit more springy, but when these greens in here are gorgeous and I could see myself reaching for them as well. They are just that more subdued type of green. These ones aren't as olivey toned at all, but I just see myself using them. I could see myself using this for fall. And the formula on this is really, really nice. And the greens in this would be really nice. The green kind of reminds me of like a camo. I don't know. And I think of camo when I think of fall. So is anybody else or is that just me? Going into more of my favorite like for burgundy type palette would be the Give Me Glow Vintage Rose palette. This is from an indie makeup brand if you are not familiar with them. And it comes with 1, 2, 3, 4. It only comes with 8 shadows. Let me tell you why this is my favorite, especially for fall. I'm a little bit sad because I was hoping this one would be kind of a grungier green. It's definitely more like an evergreen type shade. I mean, this thorn shade you definitely could still wear. It reminds me of fall. This green is not really that olive color that I love so much for the fall time. But the rest of the shades, especially these shades right here, I love to create a grungy sort of smoked out burgundy type of look. But I also, oh my gosh, love using this for blush. This is such a beautiful blush for the fall time, just very cinnamony warm look. I love it. And then you can also use these as highlighters. It's just a very beautiful palette to incorporate into fall. But I've always had a hard time, especially with the green, because it's kind of harder to blend out and it is such a dark green and there's really no good shade in here to blend it out with. So I thought it would be cool to actually pair it up with the Natasha Denona mini palette because you have that lighter green and you could kind of use it in the crease to help this one out. So I feel like these palettes would actually pair really nicely together. Maybe I'll do a tutorial using both of them. I don't know, but I love them both very beautiful. And again, I use this for blush and for highlighters and also my eyes. So if you're looking for a beautiful burgundy palette, this one will give you that. So pretty. Let me just swatch a few of the shades. So Copper Rose is my favorite. I think all over the lid, honestly, just like using these 3 are probably my favorite parts when I'm kind of going for that grungy Their quality is so good too, and their pan sizes are so great. So I would probably pair like these 3 shades together. It's just, yes, yes, yes. And this shade in the center is such a pretty blush shade. So I highly recommend this one. All right, going into a really good mustard palette. I know I've hit on some other mustards, like in the Melt palette, and the Kathleen Lights palette also kind of has a mustard, but the Naked Honey, guys. I know that like Urban Decay has been getting a lot of like, oh, Urban Decay is not that great anymore, but this quality in the Naked Honey was amazing. I don't care what anybody says, like this quality is really good in the Naked Honey. It's one of the best qualities I think from Urban Decay that we've seen recently. Last fall when it came out, I used the heck out of this. Now this to me is if you're more of a neutral lover and you want to incorporate some of those more mustard gold tones, this is perfect for you. It's going to give you a more wearable look without building up too heavily. I feel like this is better than the Melt one if you're more into wearable looks, I guess. Like wearable looks, people get mad when I say wearable, but what I think of is going into a workplace that doesn't like crazy creative makeup wearable. I just really enjoy this. They blend amazingly. They just, oh, they're so soft. But this just very much gets used for fall for me. So if you're looking for kind of just an everyday fall palette, this would be the one that I would go with personally, and trust me, I'm gonna be using this fall. I'm gonna have to put it on my counter downstairs because it's gonna get used a lot. Now into just neutral warm tone palettes. The California Love palette from ColourPop it creates like the perfect warm tone neutral look in my opinion. It's gorgeous. I did put some of the glitter on my eyes today, but if you really want that more orangey warm tone look, this is gonna give it to you, and it's just pretty good quality, and they're also usually pretty inexpensive. So this is my favorite for like a neutral, just wearable, very, very warm toned, like without being too red. I know that there's a lot of this one's more like a yellow orange. It'll give you more of a yellow orangey warm toned versus like a very red or a very just like straight up, I don't know. It's more yellow toned. Good palette. Definitely recommend that one too. I will be using that one. Another one which is newer is probably the Raw Christy Beauty palette. I would recommend because it does have, I mean, look at this, guys. You have those very warm tones, and then you have these like yellows and oranges and this gold. Like this would create the perfect neutral fall eye look in my opinion, and the quality on this I really liked as well too. And then if you really want to amp it up for a more intense fall look, you can do that too. And then you even have like this blue that you can play around with, because I feel like sometimes it'd be cool to do like a very warm tone on top and smoke a little bit of blue into a look, like a navy blue color or something. And it's a good palette, and it has some warm tones that you can play around with. Last but not least, I actually have the Norvina palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, because I remember these shades are so unique and they're just really nice for creating that grunge look, especially the shimmers. My favorite thing about this are the shimmers. Specifically, I remember using the heck out of Summer. Oh, it feels so good. It just gives you like an antique gold, like just rusty, but then you also have these raisiny colors, just stunning. I love it. I think these are also pretty for fall. They might not be your normal typical fall shades, but I feel like you still could get a very beautiful grungy, rusty type of look, and I really like this palette as well. That is all I'm going to include today. I don't want to overwhelm you with a ton of palettes. I'm sure there are a few more that I could pull out of I have a lot of palettes. I'm sure I could pull out a few more and be like, ooh, this one would be perfect. Like I'm looking at one right now. Do I do it? Do I do it? Do I do it? How about we do a palettes great for fall too? So we'll do a second video. I don't know how many it will include, but we'll include more. Some more great ones that I think are great for fall. yeah, let me know if you want to see a tutorial done with any of these. Let me know down below what your favorite fall palette is, and be on the lookout for my second video including the rest of my favorite fall palettes from my current collection. And thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a great day. Bye bye.